What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 11, Thursday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you my top picks for the Thursday Night Football Showdown between the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at the quarterback position. My Thursday Night Football quarterback. Now look guys, I'm going to have a mix of Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. Both of these guys are capable of 30 plus fantasy point upside. Kyler Murray does have the better matchup here from the Arizona Cardinals playing the Seattle Seahawks, who have the absolute worst defense overall, and they give up the second most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Kyler Murray has averaged 31.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.7 rush attempts per game. He's been on fire, scoring 31, 42, and 41 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and he got 11, and 14 rush attempts in those games. Both of these quarterbacks can rush the ball, but Kyler Murray rushes the ball twice as much as Russell Wilson. He's going to be about 71% owned, projected at 25.9 fantasy points here tonight, but he is 13,000 DraftKings salary, so you got to spend up for Kyler Murray. It's going to make the rest of your lineup a little bit difficult. There's a few value plays that I'll get into in this video, but there's not a ton of value on this slate. Now, Vegas thinks there's going to be 56.5 points scored in this game, and they have the Cardinals trailing by 3. So fantastic matchup, a passing game script. I like the rushing floor, so I like Kyler Murray here versus the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Russell Wilson, he's 11,800 DraftKings salary. He's averaging 29.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 74% owned, and he scored 13, 29, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games, projected at 25.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's coming off of a bad game last week, so it's a bounce back spot. He's got a pretty good matchup. The Arizona Cardinals give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So if you're looking to save some salary, both of these quarterbacks are in good spots here tonight. And I think Russell Wilson does bounce back here and puts up a pretty good game. So I also like Russell Wilson here versus the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. This is a tough position to pick here tonight. Chris Carson is questionable. I'm kind of expecting him to play, but we're going to have to wait for news to come out on that one. Kenyon Drake came back last week for the Arizona Cardinals. He put up 14 fantasy points off of 16 rush attempts. He's going to be sharing the ball with Chase Edmonds. So they both got about 50% of the snaps last week. Kenyon Drake is 6,200 DraftKings salary, and Chase Edmonds is 5,600 DraftKings salary. Kenyon Drake is going to be about 20% owned, and Chase Edmonds is going to be about 27% owned. I'm leaning a little bit towards Chase Edmonds. Kenyon Drake hasn't been very good this year. Chase Edmonds looks like the better running back for Arizona Cardinals. But now the running back that I want to play here tonight, if Chris Carson is out, and even if he does play this game, I like Carlos Hyde from the Seattle Seahawks. He could get a lot of rush attempts here in this game, and he's only 5,200 DraftKings salary. He's coming back from injury. He was out with a hamstring injury, but he's active here tonight. He's listed as the #1 running back on the depth chart currently. That will change if Chris Carson plays tonight, but they may be careful with Chris Carson and give Carlos Hyde the workload. He's only going to be about 7% owned here projected at 9.2 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Carlos Hyde here versus the Arizona Cardinals. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL, MLB is still going, NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So we got a couple of wide receiver studs on the slate. For the Arizona Cardinals, I like DeAndre Hopkins. The Seattle Seahawks have the worst defense overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins is averaging 21.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.8 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 47% owned. He's on the field for 93% of the snaps, projected at 20.4 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,800 DraftKings salary. The matchup can't get any better here tonight. Do not fade DeAndre Hopkins. You should have some captain lineups with DeAndre Hopkins. This guy could score the most fantasy points on the slate tonight, so I like DeAndre Hopkins here versus the Seattle Seahawks. Now for the Seattle Seahawks, their wide receiving stud is DK Metcalf, who's averaging 20.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 49% owned, projected at 17.2 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,200 DraftKings salary, and he's got a pretty good matchup here as well. The Arizona Cardinals give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, and it looks like Tyler Lockett has been limited in practice heading into this game, so it could mean more passing targets for DK Metcalf, who's also coming off of a bad game last week, only scored 5 fantasy points off of 4 pass targets, so it's a bounce back spot. So I like DK Metcalf here versus the Arizona Cardinals. But my favorite wide receiver on the slate is Christian Kirk from the Arizona Cardinals playing the Seattle Seahawks. You know they have the worst defense in the league, giving up the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Christian Kirk has averaged 13.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.8 pass targets per game. Now, it says he's only going to be about 2% owned. I think his ownership is going to be much higher than that. He's on the field for 71% of the snaps. He's projected at 13.3 fantasy points here tonight. He's 7,400 DraftKings salary and 400 more on FanDuel. So I like Christian Kirk here versus the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. This is the spot that we can find a little bit of value. So I like Greg Olsen from the Seattle Seahawks. Now he's only averaging 5.3 fantasy points per game on the season, but he is getting an average of 3.7 pass targets per game. So he's gotten about 4 pass targets each game in the last 3 games. He's on the field for 63% of the snaps, and he was on the field for more than 70% of the snaps last week. He's going to be about 11% owned, projected at 5.4 fantasy points here tonight, but he's only 3,600 DraftKings salary. So in a slate that's hard to find value, I like Greg Olsen here versus the Arizona Cardinals. And another value play is Jacob Hollister from Seattle Seahawks. He's only averaging 3.4 fantasy points per game on the season, only getting an average of 1.8 pass targets per game, but he did get 7 pass targets 2 weeks ago scored 11 fantasy points, and he's only 1,000 DraftKings salary. So this is a high-risk, high-reward play here, but on a slate that doesn't have much value. He's a tempting play at only 1,000 DraftKings salary. If he's going to get 2, 3, up to 7 pass targets, I think he makes an interesting play here tonight. So I like Jacob Hollister as a high-risk, high-reward play here versus the Arizona Cardinals.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.